Okay, dear participants, we'll start soon our session 8 on a new beginning for halal gelatin and testing in 2 minutes. So people from backside, so if it's possible for you, you can come a little bit forward to fill the first line of the cell. It will be good. Arkat taraftakiler mümkünse on tarafa doğru inebilirsiniz. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh. So once again, welcome. We hope that you enjoy your break. So it's a great pleasure for me to welcome you again after this afternoon. So now we'll start the session 8 of the 7th World Halal Summit on a new beginning for halal gelatin and testing. First, I would like to invite the session moderator, Mr. Aijan Ajet. Mr. Aijan Ajet is food engineer and Dünya Helal trainer. So Mr. Ajet, you can come on the stage to take your place. Excuse me, it's Mrs. Aijan. Okay. So after her, I would like to invite Dr. Muhammad Shojai Ali Abadi from Farouk Life Science Research Laboratory from Iran. Welcome, Doctor. Dr. Muhammad Ali Sheikh Weiss from SMIC, the Standard and Methodology Institute for Islamic Countries. Welcome, Doctor. Mr. Mufti Said Fazlur Rahim, Executive Assistant in Sana Halal Associate from Pakistan. Welcome, Mufti. Mr. Serat Ur Bashit from Galnia, from Turkey. Welcome, Mr. Ur. So welcome, dear speakers, Mrs. Moderator, so we can start our session. Thank you.
Sanırım şu an tamamdır. Değerli katılımcılar ve kıymetli konuşmacılar, şu an tamam. Değerli katılımcılar ve kıymetli konuşmacılar, öncelikli olarak hoş geldiniz. Dünya Helal Zirvesi 8. oturumunu başlatmaktan mutluluk duyduğumu öncelikli olarak belirtmek isterim. İlk konuşmacımız Doktor Ali Abadi'yi 1991 yılında Tahran Üniversitesi Veterinerlik Fakültesi mezunu, 1989-1993 yılları arasında Araştırma Bölüm Başkanlığı'na atanmıştır. 2016-2018'e kadar SİMİÇ Uygunluk Değerlendirmesi Standartları Komite Başkanı olarak atanmıştır. Sayın Ali Abadi, söz sizde.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. الحمد لله المتجلی به جماله المحتجب به جلاله و صلوات علی محمد و آله. Today I would like to talk about the halal authenticity test based on OIC SMIC 22, which it is halal edible gelatin requirement and test methods. The outline, we are trying to talk about the general information on gelatin, but since my brother, engineer Serhat, is here, therefore he will explain better than me, and then we talk about the global halal production. You will find some differences on the numbers, don't worry. And then halal authenticity test conformity test methods in OIC SMIC 1 and OIC SMIC 22, and then some analytical methods, and then try to make a conclusion. Okay, gelatin is a protein, it's a hydrolyzed product of collagen. 27% comes from the bone and 28% from the skin of cattle, and then 44% comes from the skin of pig. In general, 99% comes from bovine and porcine, and 1% from other side. I will skip that, but you will use it, a lot of time. But that would be nice to look, because as you can see that, majority of the production in the world is, almost 80%, it's not in Muslim country. And then even for the rest, it's, which 20% production, Muslim countries are much limited. It is difficult to make a proper estimation, 450,000 up to 500,000 tons per year, and from that we have maybe maximum now 30,000, which it is about 6%. And if we calculate this, we would have said that, more than 80% of Muslims cannot have the halal gelatin. It is impossible to have. Of course, it's a complex, multi-stage process. It's a high-tech equipment, and also the raw materials is connective tissues from the, as I said, pig, cattle. There is a very limited amount of fish, and majority comes from skin and bones. Therefore, that is what we are getting as a raw material. If you look at the OIC SMIC 22, you will see that we have, a list of tests which we have to fulfill. It is authenticity test of raw material, should be positively identified. Authenticity test for the halal animal origin, for example, it is bovine. It's, should be positively identified. As halal test for non-halal animal origin, the presence of the porcine should be positively, it should be negative, which it is a limit of detection of a validated test method. And then we have the positive identification of halal slaughtering provision, which at the moment, regrettably, we don't have any test method yet. But therefore, it should be done through the traceability, but hopefully one day through the validated method, and confirmation of traceability of raw material. We have to do it, is positively confirmed. If you read in the section 10 of OIC SMIC 1, general requirements for halal food, we define here that, what would be the halal authenticity conformity test. And later I will talk about the difference between conformity test and screening test. And, we have to do three things. First, we have to, beyond the doubt, means that, it's a confirmatory, there is no doubt that the halal food source should be identified. There should be no haram or non-halal or najis. But this is a risk-based, means that, if there is a risk, you have to check it. If there is no risk, you don't need to check it. And then halal slaughtering provision fulfillment, which it is wherever possible. If we look at the composition of gelatin, of course, what we have is a pure 99% gelatin. But if we look at the component or constituents of it, the macro components are protein, which are collagen and elastin source based, and then water. But we have the micro as well. We have the lipid, mineral, polysaccharides, albumin, globulin, creatine. Therefore, there is always a possibility to find some good way of looking at these compounds. There is one other thing that we have to say, that there are two types of them. One, it is type A, which it's mainly type A comes from porcine. The isoelectric point pH is about between 7 to 9. It is incompatible with the ionic compounds such as acacia, agar, and tragacanth, which is, I think we say katira in our language. I'm sure that in Middle East a lot of people use it in the same things in Pakistan. And the type B, which it is coming from the alkaline process. It has got a isoelectric point of pH 4.7 to 5, and this is, of course, it's compatible with ionic compound. Therefore, it could be mixed with them as well. Okay, what we need? We need a direct proof, not proof by contraindications. Sometimes, regrettably, in food science, we do it by the proof by contraindications. But actually what we need the identification assay to know the origin and halal slaughtering provision. We need the quality assay, we need the safety assay. But we are trying to focus on the first one. The other thing is that, there are targeted and non-targeted approach, means that we know which elements we have to measure, and then those we don't know. Measure, and what we are measuring? Measuring is that a quantity or property intended to be measured. And we have surrogate marker versus target markers. For example, if you have all meat has got a DNA, therefore you cannot have a meat without a DNA. Therefore, in meat, DNA, if you are looking, is a target marker. But in gelatin is a surrogate marker. We have a very intensive method of production. We lose most of it, but maybe there is a possibility to find some. Therefore, we have to make that. But segment of the bovine alpha collagen, which it is a target marker. The other is with this two-way table, which we have when you do the test, we have 4 possibilities. We have a true positive and true negative, and we have a false positive and false negative. People tend to think that, okay, we'll send it to the lab and then, magic, everything comes out correctly, but that is not the truth. This is the ideal, means that the true negative and true positive are separated, but regrettably, and then we have a good threshold. But a lot of times they are, actually intertwined. Therefore, we have a false negative and false positive. Of course, we can play with the threshold, and then there is for reducing false negative, then there are a lot of good products, you have to throw them away. You can do the other way around. Therefore, that is our decision. I'm just skipping this one. You will get a copy of my slides. Anyone who doesn't, you can send me to my WhatsApp. It's very easy. I will give. One of the works which it is non-targeted is omics. It's genomes, transcriptions. We know that from the genome, from DNA, we have a messenger RNA, then the production of protein, and then production of metabolic. And all of them gives us genomics, transcriptomics, proteomics, and metabolomics. And in this case, you know, we can have DNA, mRNA, protein. We could have production of sugar, nucleotide, amino acid, lipids. Therefore, we can always measure these things and to find out what is happening in the DNA. In genomics, we can have an approach with the PCR, we can have with NGS, but what we need, you know, to my knowledge, you know, that is my way of looking, you know, about 60% of the animal origin comes from the pig. Therefore, that is the species we need to check. About 37% is bovine. We have to check that one. There is a possibility of, you know, less than 1% in fish, poultry, and very traces in donkey. But donkey really is not a big deal for us because it's a most expensive gelatin, about $350 per kilogram, and they use it in Chinese medicine. Therefore, nobody is going to mix it, and also the color is terrible. I also passed the PCR, what we have to do, but I like to bring your attention to droplet digital PCR, which one of the problems with the real-time PCR is that we cannot have a lot of colors, therefore we cannot do a very good multiplex. Normally it is a simplex method, means that a single you know, species we can recognize, we can increase it, but not much. But there is a big potential for droplet digital PCR because it's much cheaper than next generation sequencing, and it's more, nowadays is coming more to the light. Okay, what we did, you know, a long time ago, I think that's, you know, 1 or 2 years ago, I also showed this one. I gave a report. We did a FTIR test, and in FTIR test, we made a model, and you can see the porcine and bovine. Not this was what we found. That is, you know, there is an animal glue. The bovine is the blue one, and then porcine is the red one. And then we could reach to the true positive of 91% and true negative of 100% in bovine. But in porcine, the true positive is very good, 100, but you know, its true negative is 98.9%. That's the reason that whenever I go, I ask my friends to give me more porcine gelatin to test. But one work they've done in York, this is principally for the archaeologists to find out which animal it is, if they find a bone, what sort of animal it is. And they will do it through the collagen test. And through the theory is that, you know, each of these collagen has got its own sequence, and they will check it with LC-Q-TOF, and that would be one good method. There are simple methods like pH drop methods. There are ELISA methods, which, you know, been developed because of the BSE disease. There are profiling of amino acids. It's another thing which you can use. One interesting paper I found that, you know, they use the
Sayın Abadi, toplayabilirsek eğer konuşmamızı.
3 or 5? 5 minutes or 3 minutes? 5. That's okay. Yeah, I will finish it. And that's, with the refractor index, with a special column, they were able to make a difference between porcine skin and bovine skin gelatin. There is the LCMSMS method also available. I'm just passing. I already covered the Q-TOF method. There is also possibility of gel electrophoresis to find out about the gelatin, and I put some of the you know, references here which I'm not going to discuss. But one of the couple of issues which it is important, there is a possibility of the isotopic fingerprint. For example, the carbon 13 versus 12. We have also heavy water that, there is a good, very good pattern. Even we can find out, if you remember, there was 11, 12% water. Therefore, even we can say that where it comes from. Therefore, that is the, a picture. And the nitrogen, 14 and 15, the ratio is another important thing. And this is what it is in nature. More you go from the air to the, end of your food chain, you have the accumulation of the heavy nitrogen. Therefore, that is also something. This is in 1999. They checked the C13 to C12 ratio, and then you can make a difference between the bird, between insects, reptiles. Therefore, there would be a possibility to do it for gelatin as well. We can check the fibrin of porcine and bovine are different. Therefore, there is a possibility. There is a fingerprint of them will remain. In conclusion, there is no magic solution, of course. We need to develop better test methods and look at the different solutions, and we shouldn't stop. We need new methods, big data and modeling, and hopefully one day direct analysis by consumer. بلغ الأولى بكماله كشف الدجى بجماله حسنت جميع خصاله صلوا عليه وآله. Thank you.
Yapmış olduğu konuşmasından dolayı Sayın Ali Abadi'ye teşekkür ediyoruz. İkinci konuşmacımız Doktor Muhammed Ali Veys, klinik bölümünde doçent, dünyada bir ilk olan helal ilaçlar hakkında Malezya'da tezini yazmıştır. Kendisi helal denetçisi, eğitmen ve danışman olarak çalışmakta. Dear Mr. Veys, word is yours.
Thank you. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Good afternoon. I hope my topic will be simple and easy today because it's a promotional topic, not 100% scientific topic. It's about our new standard, OIC CIMIC 22, about the halal gelatin, halal edible gelatin. Actually, all of this session will be about gelatin, and other doctors here and friends will explain more in different topics. We listen to Dr. Shuja'i. Actually, we put him first because we know he will take longer time. And Mufti Fazl Rahim will speak more about traceability. And our brother Sarhat will speak from his experience in the factories. So we will speak about our new gelatin standard in CIMIC. As you know, my name is Muhammad Ali. I am a pharmacist and working in CIMIC. Alhamdulillah, I was member of the committee which produced this standard, and today, inshallah, we will speak about what is gelatin uses, gelatin in OIC countries, how we publish a standard in CIMIC, and the importance of this standard. Actually, the origin of gelatin is simple. It's come from our food. All of us know when our mothers cook this delicious food, soup, and when it's become cold, it's become thick. The Latin word gelatius mean thick. Actually, what we did in factory, that we take this broth, the bone broth or the hide broth, and we process in different stage to make it in powder format. The raw materials usually come from bone or from the hides of or the skin of the animals. The majority of the raw materials come from the big skin in the world, 44%. and the bone from different animals, also the bovine hides. Still until now, the fish gelatin and other animal gelatin still not contain any big market. The majority come from the big, until now, from the porcine sources. Let's explain a little bit about how we take gelatin. If we compare human skin to the cow skin, there is the epidermis layer, the upper layer. Below the epidermis layer, there is different connective tissues. It's contain different big molecules. It's contain around 60,000 atoms inside it. The most important one is collagen, and we target this collagen because we take collagen and we hydrolyze collagen and we produce the gelatin. So when we take the cow skin, we go to the leather factory after they slaughter the cows. It's go to the leather factory, and they remove the lower part, the fat part and the collagen part. This one, instead of throw it back, it's a waste in the leather factory. They don't need it. They take it to the gelatin factory. So it's a waste product. From waste, we make the gelatin. Same for bone. No one eat bone. In the majority of the country, no one eat bone. So instead of throw the bone, we take it to the gelatin factory. So if you look for the hide of the cow, you can find the percentage. The majority is coming from water, 64%, and proteins. There is different type of proteins. Our target is collagen, the most important one, the one that we make gelatin from it. The collagen in original format, it's more complicated format than the gelatin one. So we do hydrolysis process to make it like gelatin. There is different treatment, manufacturing process. As Dr. Shujai mentioned, there is two main types, alkaline and acidic one. Everyone have different character, and everyone have some chemical properties. It's explained, inshallah, in our brother Sarhat PowerPoint. So what is the uses of gelatin? According to the latest surveys, 63% of the gelatin used in food industry, 31% in the pharmaceutical industry, and for other uses, it's around 6%. Let's start with the pharmaceutical one. Pharmaceutical capsules, the hard capsules and the soft capsules come from gelatin, and it's important to look for the source of the gelatin capsules because the majority in the Islamic countries come from non-halal sources until now. There is another product, we call it sponge, gelatin sponge. It's used in the surgery. It's a small type of sponge immersed with gelatin. It's absorb a lot of blood. So if you go to a dentist, for example, and he put some sponge inside your mouth to absorb the blood, it's come from porcine gelatin. Unfortunately, until now, no one make it halal. So this is in pharmaceutical uses. For food uses, gelatin is used as food additive. It's used as dessert. It's used as gummy candies, but it's also used in food additives because it's give a lot of properties. It's anti-foaming. It's give colloid. It's give gelling activity. All of these character. It's give it very good character to use it in the food industry. So it's the second famous hydrocolloid component in food industry. The first one is starch. The second one is gelatin. So if you look for the food industry, the majority of gelatin is used in the chocolate cake product. Then in the dairy and desserts, all yogurt, we use all what you call it, ice cream we use, it's contain gelatin. In the bakery product, it's also used. Actually, everywhere you will find gelatin in our products. When you go to the factory produce different type of gelatins, and according to the purity of this gelatin, we have different grade. So we have pharma grade, the most clean and the most expensive one, food grade, the feed grade, and the industrial gelatin. The industrial gelatin, usually it's used in the adhesive and glue materials. Our standard is about food grade. So this standard is for halal edible gelatin. It's not about halal pharmaceutical. Inshallah, in CIMIC 16, TC 16, there is an idea to produce halal pharmaceutical gelatin standard. So what's the situation? Production and what's the raw material sources? In Saudi Arabia, we have one factory. Actually, it's after a long time, it started as Al-Adahi project. It's cooperation between the Islamic Development Bank and Al-Adahi project. They start to produce gelatin from the Al-Hajj slaughtering material. And they also produce capsule gelatin, but they still produce very small amount of gelatin until now. The capacity is not high because there is no raw material, a lot of raw material in Saudi Arabia. In Egypt, we have 2 factories. In Iran, we have 1 factory. In Pakistan, actually, this is the oldest gelatin industry in Islamic countries. They start in 1953, but they start with industrial gelatin, not with the food gelatin, the industrial one, the glue one. They have 5 factories, according to my information, 5 factories. This is the name of the factories. They have 2 pharmaceutical capsule factories. And our brother Mufti Yusuf from Sanha, they have certified the majority of these companies, if you need to know more about these companies. Also, these factories produce animal feed gelatin and dicalcium phosphate. Dicalcium phosphate is a byproduct of bone manufacturing. It's used for the animal feed also. The majority of the raw material come from bone in Pakistan. Half bone, half is hide skin, the cow skin. Let's come to Turkey. Turkey have 5 gelatin factories. We have Halavit, we have Selgel, Borsa Gelatin, and Gilead. Gilead, actually, they just opened a new factory, and our brother here, he will speak more about his factory, and they produce the leaf gelatin, the paper gelatin, the one that's, I think it's the only halal leaf gelatin produced in Islamic country until now. So all of the one here in Turkey is depending on the hide, cow hide, because the leather industry are advanced here in Turkey. Okay. If you go to CIMIC news in our website, in 7 July, if you notice here, we announced that CIMIC published new halal standard in July, last July. This is the tweet at that time, that in the 13th meeting of TC1 Halal Food, which take place in 23rd March, the committee decided to go for the final draft start of the final draft standard of OIC CIMIC 22, and it's officially become published in July. So this committee is responsible for this project. Actually, in CIMIC, we work in committees, technical committees. This committee contains members from all OIC countries. This is TC1.
Sayın Weiss, toplayabilirsek.
Yes. Give me 3-5 minutes, yes. So this is the TC1 halal food issue. We have 29 permanent members and 6 observers. You can see all of our members here. Actually, the majority of our CIMIC members are members in this committee. And we have different stages to reach the standard. We have draft, proposal, and each stage we have ballot for voting. to get consensus from all our countries. This is our standard. You can find it on our website, and you buy. This is the most important thing. This is why they send me today. To promote this standard, you can find it on our website. So I will speak about our standard now. It started as a project in 2019. The proposed come from Pakistan because they have one national standard, and they propose it as a draft. It's the first halal gelatin standard in the world until now. And this is the contents. It's contain all definitions, all regulation regarding manufacturing, packaging, and also the method of test, all of these things. I will focus only on 2-3 things, the importance of this OIC CIMIC 22. Here, for example, you can notice in 5.2, it's said that the raw materials shall only be from healthy animals that have been slaughtered and are deemed halal, for example, fish, according to IC CIMIC 1. So this is a clear statement about the animal used, because some companies, some halal certification companies, give halal certificate for big gelatin according to the istihala concept, and they give halal gelatin certificate for some bovine gelatin which is slaughtered by non-Muslim. So this is a clear statement that we don't accept istihala, and we accept only halal animal which is slaughtered according to the Islamic way. And the second important point, that the plant should have proper sorting facilities for raw materials, and the plant shall be dedicated only for the production of halal gelatin. This is to ensure there is no contamination between non-halal and halal materials. And also, we focus on the traceability in our standard. Brother Fazul Rahim will speak more about traceability. So this is the idea of our standard. Hopefully, inshallah, you will use this standard, and it will be beneficial for all Muslim countries. Thank you. Assalamu alaikum.
Yapmış olduğu konuşmasından dolayı Sayın Veys'e teşekkür ediyoruz. Üçüncü konuşmacımız Müftü Seyit Fazılur Rahim. Kendisi yönetici asistanı olarak görev yapmakta. Bay Fazıl, Pakistan Helal üyesi, Pakistan Menkul Kıymetler ve Borsa Komisyonu, ayrıca Pakistan ile ilişkili şeriat danışmanı olarak görev yapmakta. Mr. Rahim, word is yours.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillahi ve salatu ve selamu ala nabiyyihi ve ala alihi ve sahbihi ve men tabi'ahum bi ihsanin ila yawmiddin. Amma ba'd. Dear moderator, distinguished speakers, honorable delegates, ladies and gentlemen, first of all, I would like to extend my congratulations and gratitude to the OIC CIMIC for organizing such a wonderful conference, the World Halal Summit 2021, in such a difficult time when, again, we are all in COVID-19 situation, and for inviting me again in this conference to be amongst you. So thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, being collected from homes and processed in the bone gelatin facilities, delivered and served to the hands of the customers in the shapes of multiple diverse products. The cattle bone is a reliable and trustworthy source in Pakistan as far as the supply chain of the bone gelatin is concerned. This presentation is actually the depiction, narration, and statement of a practical physical visit to the northwestern part of the country, the Islamic Republic of Pakistan, in order to assess the immediate bone suppliers, the intermediate bone suppliers, and the bone collectors for the purpose to halal certify a bone gelatin facility, just like earlier my brother, the Honorable Dr. Ali, mentioned that there are some plants in Pakistan who have been halal certified by Sanha Pakistan, so it is going to be one of them, Insha'Allahur Rahman. Hence, in this regard, the outline is the end route of the bone gelatin from homes to hands. Homes, the commencing point of the supply chain, and then up comes the collectors, who are very important, who collect bones from the homes going door to door, and then arrival at the intermediate supplier's dumping store, and then identification and cleaning of the bones by the intermediate, and after that, arrival at the bone gelatin production facility, and then he also examines homes. The preliminary point of this journey, the commencing point of this supply chain. Now, why? Why is it the commencing, the preliminary point of this supply chain? Why is it the preliminary point of this journey? Just because the people in northwestern part of my country, they do not waste bones after eating their meals just like we do. In the central parts of the country, they actually sell those bones with the other wasted stuff, the home wasted stuff, the scraps and alike materials, to the bone collectors, to the scrap collectors. And this is supposed to be the secondary source of income for them. And this is just because their economic and financial situation. But by doing this, they actually lay down and they provide us a firm, a trustworthy, and a genuine, a real supply of bone chain, a foundation for that supply of bone gelatin. Now, coming forward, why homes are so important to be considered as the commencing point of the supply chain and as the assurance for halal? Why? We need to understand some factors. Some factors need to be understood because these homes are situated in an area, and that area is situated inside Pakistan. So some bone-related affairs regarding Pakistan needed to be understood here. So ladies and gentlemen, here is my country, the Islamic Republic of Pakistan. Its population on August 25, 2017 was 207 million, but as of November 2021, it has crossed almost 222 million. And now it is the world's 5th most populated country, the 2nd largest Muslim country, and 97% population is Muslim, and these are the reports of Pakistan Bureau of Statistics. Now, the other important thing that the per capita beef consumption has increased from 5.8 to 6.42 annually since 2006. So a very vital kind of increase has been seen since 2006 up till now. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been the report being issued by the USDA regarding 2020, the meat consumption in 2020. Now, we can clearly see here, Pakistan has been ranked at number 8. Yes, there are 7 countries above Pakistan, but all of them are non-Muslim countries. All the Muslim countries have been ranked lower than Pakistan. So as far as the Muslim world is concerned, the meat consumption in Pakistan is on the highest side. The fiscal glance at Eid al-Adha in Pakistan, we all know that Eid al-Adha is a very important occasion in the Muslim world as well as in the non-Muslim world for the Muslim community. This is a very important occasion. But unlike the other Muslim world, we in Pakistan, we purchase the animals, we keep them in our homes for some days, and then we slaughter them under our own supervision and sometimes with our own hands. So this thing discriminates us from the other world. if we can see the fiscal situation of Pakistan from 2016 to 2021, the gross business in 2016 was 160 billion. It was increased in 2021 to 450 billion. It was decreased to 174 billion during the COVID situation, but as far as the post-pandemic scenario is concerned, it has increased a lot to 450 billion. So from 2016 to 2021, a very vibrant kind of increase can be seen here. Ladies and gentlemen, the livestock overview in Pakistan from 2016 to 2021, if we can see the cattle situation, in 2016, it was 42.8 million. In 2020-21, it is 51.5 million. And look at the situation of buffaloes. In 2015-16, it was 36.6 million. In 2020-21, it is 42.4 million. And look at the camel situation. In 2015-16, it was 1 million, and in 2020-21, it has increased to 1.1 million. So these slides showcase the situation that the meat consumption, livestock situation, and the gross business as far as the Pak rupees are concerned is on the higher side in 2020 and 2021. Pakistan as meat exporter, yes, we have heard a lot that the Muslim countries are far behind in meat export. Pakistan is also, but now the situation is getting changed. Now the situation is changing. Pakistan has started meat export to the GCC countries. The brotherly country, Malaysia, they have approved 2 our companies for the meat export. The biggest market in the world, the Chinese market, they have also approved some of our companies for the meat export. And now as far as 2020-2021, circle is concerned, $333 million worth export has been done by Pakistan. Yes, it is still on the lower side as far as the overall situation is concerned, but the country like Pakistan, which was very behind in the meat export situation, this is quite an encouraging situation for Pakistan in 2020-2021. Gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen, this is something very important. The cultural obligation. Sometimes the cultural bindings are more effective than that of the religious binding. And when culture and religion get together, when culture and religion combine together, its binding force is at the apex level. Nothing can be more binding than that when the culture and religion get together. So the area which I'm referring towards as far as the bone supply is concerned, the northwestern part of the country, the southern part of the country. So in these parts, raising cattle and slaughtering them to fulfill the food requirements is cultural in these areas. And then more importantly, the inhabitants of these areas are Muslim for the hundreds of the years. Unlike the other parts of Islamic Republic of Pakistan, where the people don't have such kind of rich history as far as Islam is concerned. Now, consuming halal meat is cultural as well as religious. Now, all these aspects, when combined together, when get together, it provides a solid foundation to the homes situated inside that area, which is supposed to be the preliminary point, the starting and the commencing point for the fact to prove that the bones supplied from them are actually halal. Number 2, describe the meat collectors. These people are called kabadiyas in our local language. Now, this is actually an organized network containing hundreds of personnel. What they do is they go door to door, restaurants, wedding halls, with small loader rickshaws and other small loader vehicles. What they do, they collect scrap, wasted materials, along with bones from homes, small and medium restaurants and wedding halls, but maximally they collect the bones from homes. almost more than 90%, they collect the bones from homes. When we interacted with them, when we interviewed them, the bone collectors, I won't name them here, but as for the example, when we interviewed them, when we had a chat with them, they replied us that more than 90% of the bones we collected from the homes, and they sell to us, and they consider that as a secondary source for their income. Intermediate supplier. Let's suppose Mr. A is an intermediate supplier on the Peshawar Ring Road. Peshawar is a city in northwestern part of our country. Now, what he does, he has 10 to 15 collectors, the bone collectors. And what they do, they travel from place to place and buy not only bones, but other waste material as well. They buy bones from different butchers, homes, hotels, and wedding halls. As these bones are received at scrap shop, they segregate directly to the bone manufacturing facility. They have a network of 40 to 50 small and medium scrap shops, means the intermediate suppliers. They have the network of 40 to 50 intermediate suppliers. They collect 4 to 5 tons of bones daily. When they have sufficient quantity of bones, for example, 10 tons, they load in a big vehicle and supply it to the gelatin production facility. Ladies and gentlemen, now comes the important thing, that how do they discriminate? How do they discriminate between the halal and haram bones? And between the fact that if the bone has come from the halal animal, either and whether that animal has been slaughtered or not, they depend upon the inherent skills and upon the traditional classical knowledge, because bone identification has always been an interesting subject for mankind. Always been an interesting subject for mankind. And from here, archaeology has emerged, and such kind of scientific chapters has been also emerged. Now, bones have their own language to talk about themselves. It is upon us to understand them, that either those bones are from human, non-human, cattle, dog, donkeys, etc. Now, this is a slide. Here are 3 bones in front of you. Can we discriminate between these bones, that from which animals these bones have come? We might not, because we don't deal with the bones. But the people who deal with the bones, they will tell you that from left to the right, it is the bone of a camel. In the middle one is the bone from the cattle, and the far right, it is the bone from the female horse. So depending upon the animal, the structure of the bone changes from one animal to the other animal. The structure of the bone of the cattle will be different and change from that of the structure of the dog or some other animal. So depending upon the structure, they actually discriminates. Now, the haram bones may be of the following 2 types. Number 1, bones of the haram animals like dogs, etc. Bones of the halal animals died without being slaughtered in compliance with the Islamic rules mentioned in the local halal standard and what have been just described by the brother Ali. Pakistan halal standard is almost in 90 to 95% in line with the CIMIC standards, because Pakistan standards have been forged on the structure of the CIMIC standards, and now on the regular basis, Pakistan is adopting the CIMIC standards as well. So, first check shape of the bone. Now, hard and clean cattle bone, this is the demand of the bone gelatin producer. Now, the hard bones, it include the jawbone, bones of the knee, forearms, shoulder blade, etc., etc. Now, these bones can be discriminated depending upon the structure. The structure of the cattle is different from that of the structure of the horse. The structure of the cattle is different from that of the structure of the dog. So when the bone comes there, they actually discriminate while giving the consideration to the structure, and they easily discriminate between the bones. Secondly, the second check, condition of the bone. Now, if the bone is of the halal animal, but that halal animal has not been slaughtered in accordance with the Islamic rules being mentioned in the local halal standard or the OIC CIMIC standard, that has been died on its own. Now, that bone has its indicators and signs, just like it has not cut by the slaughter. And then the color, the odor, the filthiness, the attached meat with it, and the skin with it, the whole bone skeleton. I mean, these are all the signs through which the bone collector or the intermediate bone supplier or the immediate bone supplier can easily discriminate and can easily identify that this bone has not come from an animal that has been properly slaughtered by a slaughterer, properly cut by a slaughterer. The bones have been properly cut by the slaughterer, because those bones that have been taken out from a maitha animal, and that animal has been died on its own or due to some kind of accident, the shape of the bone, the condition of the bone, the color of that bone, the taste of that bone will definitely be different from that bone that has been come out from a properly slaughtered animal. Now, arrival at the gelatin production facility, the bone supply enters the gelatin production facility with an affidavit. And now this is a requirement. Without this affidavit, the bone cannot enter into a bone gelatin facility. And now, what that affidavit declares and states, declaring the statement under oath that the bones are from halal animal being slaughtered in compliance with Sharia requirements. And then after that, bones are crushed here in the facility, and finally the bones are converted to gelatin that resultantly added as a part of the multiple food products. Now here we came at the conclusion, ladies and gentlemen. Bones collected from homes, restaurants, wedding halls are almost 100% halal as far as the northwestern part of the country, which I have elaborated. Now, yes, there are scandals, there are rumors, there are propagandas. I mean, these things happen, the rumors, the propagandas, the scandals about the haram animal, about the bone of the haram animal, but doubt cannot alter certainty. Al-yaqinu la yazulu bishak, walakin al-yaqin yazulu bil-yaqin. Certainty cannot be altered by a mere doubt. Certainty can only and only be altered and changed by the certainty, not the mere doubts. I thank you all, ladies and gentlemen, for your patience.
Sayın Rahim, yapmış olduğunuz konuşmadan dolayı teşekkür ederiz. Son konuşmacımız Serhat Uğur Başyiğit. Deri sektörünün farklı kademelerinde çalıştıktan sonra Balıkesir Gönen'de deri kimyasalları ve teknik danışmanlık konusunda kendi işini yapmakta. Türkiye'de yenilebilir sığır jelatini üretimi konusunda çalışmış olup 2011 yılında jelatin üretiminin kurucu ortak ve genel koordinatörü olarak çalıştı. Çoğunluğu TÜBİTAK olmak üzere 11 TÜBİTAK projesinde yer aldı. Sayın Başyiğit, söz sizde.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah, dear guests and also dear speakers. I have very difficult situation because gelatin produced around 150 years as a industrially, but I have just 15 minutes to explain to you what we should careful about the gelatin production. It's a very big challenge for me. But anyway, you have my contact names and my details, and end of the day you can contact with me anytime. I try to explain further for your questions. So, just brief history about gelatin. Gelatin, as I mentioned to you, actually it's equal with the humankind because we are eating animals, beef, and bones, as a historically, as a written history says to archaeological finds show to us, Egyptians used the gelatin from bone for the making clothes and making the furniture, etc. But industrially, 1682 French mathematics person, Denis Papin, make a kind of cooker. Then it start industrializing to gelatin using. So I would like to also explain, if we are talking about gelatin, the situation about halal aspects, we are always afraid. But Allah Azza wa Jalla explained in Quran Azimüşşan benefits for humankind. So as first the benefits of collagen and gelatin. So oops. And our story started 2006 with read a newspaper, and it's written Muslims eat officially pork. And I get surprised, and I thought with my brother we are responsible what we know, and we decide to evaluate, to process to gelatin, and we would like to find a solutions how can we manufacturing gelatin. And Alhamdulillah, 2015 we set up a company in Technopark as a startup company, and we come together, Turkish biggest tannery Uyguner group, and last year we set up a good, very modern factory with Gelner name, and today we are keep going on the production in Balıkesir Gönen. Actually, gelatin is, how can I say, I don't know, but it's indispensable raw material, ingredients for the food manufacturers, because it has many benefits for the texturizing, stabilizing, and the other effects. If you want to exchange gelatin with another hydrocollates, maybe you need more than one hydrocollase to make same effect. Even you cannot match same results. So it's indispensable raw material or indispensable food material for the manufacturers. Also, recent research about the gelatin, bioactive activities in the human health, and also related to fast release, slow release, or synergic effect with other chemicals, because end of the day, it's protein and it's kind of amphoter character, so it gives many opportunity to carrying, encapsulating, and the other ways. So it has another synergic effect. It's very indispensable raw material for the medical usage, and my brother Ali explained the sponge and the other medical applications, and tissue engineering. It's really important raw material. There is the global gelatin market is around 400,000 metric tons, around 37 manufacturers worldwide. Actually, it's very difficult to reach the figures exactly. There is no statistic. There is many market research about it, but sometimes reliable, sometimes it's not reliable. So most of the information which I explained to you from my face-to-face contact with local, global, and my experience based, around 75% of the production worldwide made by 4 big manufacturers. So the others shares rest of the 25. So you can see the distribution of the countries. So when you check on the internet also, you can find the match these amounts with the 3-4 big manufacturers and with their production facilities countries. These are export figures with multiple thousand US dollars. This is important figures about the Turkey. As you see, since 1915, it was 20 million US dollars to exports, and last year it happened almost double up, and inshallah this year will be around 55 or something, and next year will be its growth more. This is important because I believe that Turkish model will be a kind of model in the futures of the halal gelatin manufacturing because of the traceability issues. So right now there is 4 gelatin and collagen manufacturers in Turkey. Also, my brother Ali explained what about them. I don't want to too much think about it, but total production around 20,000 metric tons in Turkey from beef hides. My brother Mohammed Shojai explained to test methods, and we cannot say exactly there is exact reliable methods for the species of the final product. So regarding that situation, is to production facilities has to obey rules of Islamic, if they are claim about the halal gelatin productions, they have to obey the Islamic rules and they have to manage with the rules of that. We have an approach about it. Actually, the quality control systems such as 9001, 14001, or 18001, they are it can be integrated each other's, and also food safety systems such as IFS, BRC, or like ISO 22000. Every single quality management system can be handled with their ways, but also you can make integration each other systems. But it's very important the halal management system should cover all of them, because if we say something to halal, halal means not only the cutting the animals, how we cut and how we collect, and not only that, because halal means equal the trust. If you say to your customers, this is halal, which means trustable. So halal chain, it have to be cover all of your quality systems. So integrated management system is very important to applying in the halal manufacturing gelatin. But it was big issue until this year. There was no common standard about the gelatin manufacturing, also gelatin testing and etc. But alhamdulillah, this year CIMIC published the OECD CIMIC 22 standard, which is very important standard for the Muslims, and it's very important development in the halal production. Actually, most of the professionals know how can be managed the quality control system. I will not focus on this kind of issues because we have limited time. I try to explain to you some topics or some parts overseas or ignored things during gelatin process. So the first stage of the gelatin, as other speakers explain also, dear brother Mufti explained, the halal cutted and halal animals is important, and also this is very clear how to weigh halal slaughtering. I don't want to talk about too much also. I'm also past this stage. In our experience last 10 years, more than 10 years actually, we have 8 critical control points for the halal gelatin production. Immediate enterprise, my brother Mufti explained about the bone situation. I also would like to explain regarding to leather side. The leather process, it starts with the slaughter houses. Slaughter houses has a residue or has a byproduct, the raw hides. So these raw hides came through the intermediate dealers. These collectors collect the hides and it goes through the tanneries. So in tanneries, the leather manufacturers produce their goods. So, and the process of the leather included the washing stage and liming stage, fleshing stage. After fleshing and liming stage, hides splitted. The split side of the animals and during the process from the raw material to splitting, some trimmings also subjected to raw materials of the hide gelatins. In this stage, the biggest risk is the dead animals can be mixed to products, to hides. So this is, unfortunately, there is no test. I don't know, in the future probably it will be difficult to find kind of test about is animal dead already or it's not. So the company is very important. I mean, the total approach or integrated management systems of the gelatin and documentation and traceability is much more important than sometimes test, not all the time, sometimes. So after splitting, the top layer, grain layer, goes through the leather process, and it can be bag, shoes, upholstery, and the other leather goods. But down layers also partly as crouton, it can go through the leather goods, but the bellies and necks goes through the gelatin raw materials and collagen raw materials and the other collagen derivatives. In this stage, the detecting of the raw material, PCR is working in this stage, because if we are talking height, it's very easy to find the DNA, and testing is good. So regarding to intermediate companies, the hide collectors, etc., maybe can mix other species, such as donkey, because Mr. Shojai, my brother Shojai explained, donkey hide, donkey skin is very expensive because of the Chinese traditional market. So it could be a risk to mix halal raw materials, and halal raw materials can be mixed. So this is critical point, but after this stage, if there is not contaminated, if it's not directly used, the donkey skins, because visual check, you can easily understand is it donkey or beef. So there is not too much big risk about this. because during the gelatin process using plenty water and cleaning the najis material from the hide. So I cannot call as a critical point, but it's important point. And the testing species difficulties in the final product. I don't want to talk about this topic because dear Shojai explained very good and very proper about it. But in Europe and in Turkey and some laboratory says that they have test. If you check there is porcine DNA or not, and you can get result, it's negative, but it doesn't mean it's not porcine gelatin. So regarding the final product, we cannot talk about the ELISA or other test methods is very reliable. So another risk critical control point about the heights, the transporting of the heights, I mean raw materials, because the truck should be contaminated with other najis product or other haram product. So it should be sure and it should be controlled by the control systems if the transportation trucks and the other vehicles is clean exactly and it's bring the correct way to the facility. And during the tannery process and the other process, it could be contaminated such as heavy metals and the other najis materials. It's also another critical control point for the halal raw materials. Chromium contaminated or mercury contaminated raw materials could be very big issue for the human health, also to regarding to halal and tayyib foods. It's not acceptable. Most of the tannery use sodium sulfur for the unherring stage, and regarding to this raw material, it could be contaminated by mercury or this kind of heavy metals, and collagen is protein and it's bind and cross-linking very well with this kind of heavy metals, and it's hard to be separate from the this protein.
Sayın Başyiğit, konuşmamızı toparlayabilirsek.
Yes, sure, why not? Regarding to Turkish system or Turkey in our systems, we have to obey the European legislation also. That's why the using the chemicals in the tanneries has to be fit with the EU REACH legislation. Disease and prion is another big risk, especially bone. It's very big risk, the BSE disease. So it needs to be treated with 138 degree at least 4 seconds. Otherwise, this product could be very dangerous for human health. So this is very important critical control point in the gelatin production. Also food safety aspects. And the auxiliaries using in the water treatment. For example, bone charcoal can be used the water treatment. This could be from the animal, non-halal animal source. So nobody talk about it, maybe their gelatin production, but this is very important because gelatin, 1 kg gelatin uses 25 kg gelatin, water for the production. And disinfectants also has to be non-alcohol, and also it has to be obey Islamic rules. And air quality is very important for the gelatin production because for the drying, using the air, plenty air. That's why the air quality has to be very good. The pollutions of the air, dioxide or some heavy metals and the other pollutions could be safe for the gelatin production, and it has to be checked every time. Water supply quality also it's important. Maybe it can be because we are using for the cleaning the gelatin from the najis materials. So if it's already contaminated with najis material, this is a big issue for the halal production. This is also very packing material to say, but I don't have limited time. But gelatin will be always important ingredients. And in the future, we will keep going talking about details. The also standard need to be some improvement, and technology is growing very fast. There is some other challenge about the gelatin. I would like to just explain to you. The raw material is limited end of the day. So we have limited halal, the Muslims have limited halal gelatin production. So we need to improve our quality, we need to improve our yields to reach to as much as possible halal gelatin. So there is risk to people try to cheat to as a with mixture with porcine and beef or different species to each others, and sometimes technical gelatin can be inside to food gelatin. It can be another risk for the challenge for the gelatin users. And the lack of the technology or the other things, for example, in Chinese situation, 3 years ago, I think it happened, detected the chromium content in the medicine capsules. So it's also big issues. As I explained to you, there is a big feature for the gelatin, bioactive properties and tissue engineering and the other properties of the gelatin. So we will keep going on the following years, the gelatin, collagen and derivatives, but the ulama and the peoples who is prepare the standards, or I think it's another big issue in the future, recombinant gelatin, because it's genetically modified, it's non-animal based. It sounds halal, but it's very complicated situation to ulama has to discuss about it and decide is it halal or not. And
şu an süremizi doldurduk ama.
Okay, thank you very much for listening and your passion. As I told you, you can contact with me anytime. Thank you so much.
Yapmış olduğu konuşmasından dolayı Sayın Başyiğit'e teşekkür ediyoruz. Tüm katılımcılarımıza katılımlarından dolayı teşekkür ediyoruz. Sorusu olan var mıdır acaba? İsminizi, katılım sağlamış olduğunuz ülkeyi ve sorunuzu kısaca alabilirsek.
Thank you very much. I'm Aynur Şenca. First of all, thank you all the speakers. I would like to ask a question on behalf of the Association of Food Laboratories and Food Inspectors Presidents, Turkish Means Glader President. My questions is to my colleague, Dr. Ali Abadi. You mentioned FTAR. How did you create a method device library? How did you do verifications? Thank you.
Teşekkür ederiz.
Thank you. Thank you for the question. What we did is, we took about more than 1,400 samples, but the majority comes from cattle and then production from Iran. But we have something nearly more than 150 samples from porcine. We also took it from the, animal glue production, which it is a traditional in Iran. They produce something near 3,000 tons. We made our own, our measurements, and then we used the SIM card, different statistical modeling for making our own database. Therefore, we generated our database. And also, we are working on the handheld near IR, which we are hoping that one day we give it to the inspector or auditor to when they're going to the places, if they have to check it, and then you can send it to your smartphone or a tablet. But we need I think that we were naive. We thought that with 200 samples is enough, but now it is 1,500. Still, we think that we need a lot to make a very reliable database. Have you got the answer? Okay.
Mikrofonu.
First of all, I would like to thank our speaker. My name is Junwarif. I'm a student here in Turkey. I came from Philippines. My question is that we all know that Philippines is a Christian country, and this kind of stuff is, it's limited. Limited. So my question is that we talk about gelatin. For example, in the Philippines, they make gelatin made of seaweeds. It's a plant-based gelatin. My question is that, is it possible that we can make a plant-based gelatin? That's it. Thank you.
Okay. The gelatin is, as I explained, it's unique raw material. Seaweeds, agar-agar, carrageenan, starch, and many other hydrocolloids existed. As Mr. Ali has showed their slide, the gelatin is most important because you cannot replace with the gelatin. If you take out the recipe from the gelatin, you have to put another additives, and you need to add some chemicals sometimes. So it's not so much easy, but it's not same effects. For example, let's talk about the gummy bears. It has unique chewing effect, and it has unique bite effect. But if you try to make with the seaweeds, you cannot get same result. For example, you can get same result with starch, but starch it's not clear, it's blur, it's not transparent. So it's very difficult to change the gelatin with the other replacement with the other hydrocolloids.
Yes, just to add one point, as the brother mentioned now, gelatin properties is very unique. So there is a lot of plant-based gelling agent don't give the same thing. For example, in pharmaceutical capsules, until now, 90% of the capsules are producing from gelatin. They tried from starch and from some cellulose material, but it's not give the same long shelf life and the same properties. So until now, 90% of the world capsules are made from gelatin.
May I say something? Just to add to this, the number of the, it is, to my knowledge, it is impossible for this production. We use the, gelatin for all Muslim because the number of the cattle are not following the number of Muslims. Therefore, what you said is very important. There is a gelling agent. They said correctly that, it's a unique, but if we want to work, we need to work on new type.
Thank you. This is Musharraf from Pakistan. Actually, by discipline, I'm an analytical chemist. So I have a couple of questions. The first one is to Brother Mufti Saeed. Like you have mentioned that the bone, collection of bone for gelatin production is interpreted by the boat entrepreneur. So actually the knowledge based on their indigenous knowledge. So do they have a kind of documented knowledge to make sure that the bone is actually from the halal side? Number one. Number two, do they, randomly use a kind of scientific test to make sure that the bone is from the halal animal? Another question is to Brother Shujai. The deduction of gelatin, the purified form, I know that is comparatively easy to, by various techniques, including mass pack. But, once it's used in the processed sample, that's a big challenge. So I'm curious to know, that you have a solution for those type of complex sample or not. Thank you.
Dear brother, referring to your first question, basically these bones are collected from homes. And we have surveyed always almost for 2 days in Peshawar and surroundings. You can know the Peshawar, one of the cities of the northwestern side of area of Pakistan. They do collect from homes. There the people, they do not sell. They do sell bones. They do not waste them. Just like we people in the urban areas of Pakistan, along the other wasted materials, we hand over the bones to the municipality. This is what they do not do in their locality. And they sell those bones to the bone collectors. And that's for sure that whatever have they eaten and consumed, the meat they have consumed, that is halal. That is halal because more than 97% population of Pakistan is Muslim, and when it comes to that area, more than 99% of the inhabitants of these areas are Muslims. So this point is to be taken. While referring to the part of your question, test, no. No test is conducted by the bone collectors. This is done on a very, very local level, on a very, very domestic level, right down the path. So no test is conducted at that level. It is all, cultural, it is domestic. The bones are maximally collected from homes. They sell that and they consider that as their secondary source of income. And from there, it comes to the intermediate supplier. From there, it comes to the immediate supplier. And we followed the whole supply chain. First, we went to the immediate supplier. There, he took us to some of his intermediate suppliers. His intermediate suppliers took us to the bone collectors, which are scrap collectors and are called kabadiyas. You can understand this terminology, kabadiya. So there are hundreds of kabadiyas in that area who actually collect this and do this. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Ghulam. May I also add something that our hyperspectral imaging and near IR sorting system could be a very good way of doing that. And I understand that what our Mufti saying, but there is a very good possibility. In regards to what you said, I think that it's we have a big problem in the pure gelatin, and let us say about when it goes to your yogurt. But I think that what we can do is the hydroxyproline is the very good indicator, and I could suggest that for stable isotope, if we can take out one hydroxyproline and analyze the nitrogen 15:14 ratio, and also do the test for all protein. If there is a difference between these two, means that they added that, and we might be able to say that it come from porcine or comes from bovine. Therefore, there is a possibility, but you need to help me for that. Thank you.
Well, I would like to add one thing with the permission of the moderator. In that very area, the pig is not found in that area of Pakistan. The dogs can be found and the donkeys can be found. Now, the structure of the bone of the dog and the structure of the bone of the donkey, those people who deal with bones for years and years, this is something very easy for them to discriminate between them. Very easy for them. Thank you.
Çok teşekkür ediyorum. Süremizi bayağı bir aştık. Bundan kaynaklı olarak sorular var görüyorum. Yalnız bitirmek durumundayız. Herkesten çok özür diliyorum. Son olarak bir soru daha alalım.
Thank you. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. My name is Adil Saber from the United Kingdom. Very impressive presentations. Thank you very much, all of you. The issue still the issue of the source of the material, the raw material, the method of slaughter. Okay. Now we have seen a number of presentations presenting the volume of gelatin produced around the world, and I would like to concentrate about the production in the non-Muslim countries, which we all consume. All the Muslim countries import gelatin from the non-Muslim countries. Now, when we come to the issue, I'm glad to hear from Dr. Muhammad about excluding of istihala in the standards, which is very important. I've wrote a lot about the issue of istihala and presented many presentations regarding gelatin and istihala. But if we go to the production of Brazil, for example, we have halal certificates coming with the product when it arrived to the Muslim countries, when in fact there is a big debate on the istihala, because they consider the halal certification organization, when they produce, they believe that it is istihala. I have done some work in a visibility study in gelatin in order to establish a gelatin factory in Brazil, and I visited a number of tanneries where the mix of hides from all over the places. And unfortunately, there is a misleading process coming from the factories as well. In one occasion, I was in a factory that I was looking at the hides and the trimmings, splits, etc., and what I saw, people are busy in one corner, and I asked them, what's that? What's going on? He said they're painting containers in green and write on them halal. I said, what is this? And they said, because we have a delegation from a Muslim, I'm not going to mention the country, from a Muslim country that is coming, and we want to show that this is we produce as a halal product. I said, where is the segregation process in your factory so that you can say that, that this hide is coming to that, is coming from a slaughtered halal factory that is coming. So that is real a problem. We need to have to look at that very carefully because we are consuming non-halal gelatin in the Muslim countries. Thank you.
Just one point, if I'd like to comment to Dr. Adem.
Şöyle yapsak, çok özür diliyorum. Bir sorumuz daha var, onu da alalım. 2 soruya cevap verip kapatabilirsek. Buyurun.
Control point of potable water, ensuring that the water, that's my question.
Teşekkürler. Buyurun.
Actually, I can, I'm sorry, Ali, you say, then I can, please. Okay, actually, I can reply both of the question. I would like to start with your first. Actually, same situation in the bones and hide side. We are hide gelatin manufacturers, so I would like to talk about hide. As you mentioned that there is an intermediate supplier between the slaughterhouses. When you go through the Brazil, one of biggest halal cut, halal slaughterhouses country, but actually there is intermediate enterprise, such as tannery. So the tannery can be contaminated with, or mixed it, not contaminated, mix it with non-halal products. So it's really impossible to detect it with any technology, as I know. So it's really impossible. So you have to find reliable companies about it. Yes, it's a big challenge, I know, but we are aware about it and we are worried about it. I am, especially by myself, I try to do my best about it. And I try to keep as much as possible 100% traceability. We have own tanneries. From the slaughterhouses directly come to our tanneries. We have 2 tanneries in Turkey. And after these tanneries, the goods come through our gelatin manufacturing. If you come visit our facility, you can take any sample and we can come back to traceability until the ear tag of the animals, and I can show you this, the farmers even. So this is very important side. The company should be reliable. Yes, test and the other methods important, the quality assurance and it's the control assurance. So it's very important point. Thank you for pointing this subject because of the time I couldn't explain very well everything. Regarding to your question, yes, the water is very important. In our extraction stage, we are using reverse osmosis water. We use active carbon filters, which is halal one from the not animal source. We use ion exchange resins, etc. We use purified water. But anyway, this is risk from the contaminated by the dead animals or some other else, some risk from the raw water because it goes through the washing stage of the gelatin process. But after extraction, you don't have to chance washing and cleaning again. Technically, yes, but diafiltration or this kind of cleaning system is one of the way to cleaning the najis material from inside. But in this stage, we are using reverse osmosis water in the extracting process. But as I mentioned that around 1 ton liter need 250 tons water, and we are trying to reduce our fingerprint of the water, and we try to reduce our fingerprint of the carbon. So, as I told you, my presentation, halal is not only cut away the animals, it's total approach. We have responsibilities. We have to very careful about our natures, our employers, and all other things. So this is very important. Thanks for your question also.
Thank you. Just a short answer to Dr. Adil's question. Actually, OIC CIMIC 22 is the first step, inshallah, to control the halal gelatin market. There is no document before this document. We know there is a lot of problem in the gelatin industry. There is some company which produce self-certification. They said that we are halal gelatin. And CIMIC standards, usually we take it as package. We don't take CIMIC 22 alone. It should be CIMIC 22 according to CIMIC 2 and CIMIC 3. CIMIC 1, CIMIC 2, CIMIC 3, like this. The products should be halal according to CIMIC 1, for example, halal food. And it should be certified from a certifier, halal certification body, according to CIMIC 2. And the accreditation body shall be according to CIMIC 3. If you take these three standards together, you ensure that the product is halal. And the certification body is following the halal procedure, and the accreditation body is also following this one. We know it's a long trip for non-Muslim countries to ensure these things, but this standard will be the best and the first step, inshallah. And hopefully, in the future, this non-Muslim country will produce halal gelatin according to this standard. Thank you.
I just want to say that Dr. Adil Sarwar is always, giving a good comments. I can fully agree with what you said. Also, the confusion on the istihala issue. I can't be more fully agree with you, Dr. Sarwar. I think that you should also come and join us as a panelist here. Thank you.
Tüm katılımcılarımıza teşekkür ediyorum. Ayrıca tüm konuşmacılarımıza yapmış oldukları birbirinden değerli konuşmalarından dolayı teşekkür ediyorum.
Çok teşekkür ediyoruz. So we thank all our speakers for their interesting, beneficial speeches on this topic, which was a new beginning for halal gelatin and testing. Now, His Excellency is already on the stage. So, Ms. Moderator, Ms. Ayjan Ajet, thank you for your contribution and for being with us today on World Halal Summit stage. Dr. Muhammad Shojai from Farouk Life Sciences Research Laboratory from Iran. Doctor, thank you very much for your contribution. Thank you very much. Dr. Muhammad Ali Sheikh Al-Wais from SMIC. Muhammad Ali Al-Sheikh Wais from SMIC. Thank you for your presentation. Thank you. Mufti Said Fazlur Rahim, Executive Assistant in Sana Halal Associate from Pakistan. Dear Mufti, thank you for your amazing presentation today on World Halal Summit stage. And finally, Mr. Serhat Ur Bashit from Gelner, Turkey. Thank you for your presentation, Mr. Serhat. So thanks to all our speakers. Now, take a family picture. So thank you. Thanks to all our speakers once again. Thank you very much. So we don't have break. We'll directly continue with the last session, which will be on new development in halal pharmaceutical and cosmetics. So our friends will arrange the scene right now. So we are going to start the last session. So yes, Doctor, please, we'll keep you on the stage, and Dr. Sujay also for the moderation of this session. So the session moderator is Dr. Muhammad Hussein Shojai Ali Abadi from Farouk Life Sciences Research Laboratory from Iran. The first speaker is Dr. Muhammad Ali Al-Sheikh Wais from SMIC, the Standard and Methodology Institute for Islamic Countries. Now I'm inviting Dr. Ruba Al-Tawabia, the chairperson of SMIC TC2, which is on halal cosmetic issues. Dr. Ruba is head of chemical industry division in JSMO, the Jordanian Standard and Methodology Organization from Jordan. Welcome, Doctor. And finally, I would like to invite Professor Dr. Syed Ghulam Musharraf from University of Karachi from Pakistan to join us on the stage. Professor Syed Musharraf. Professor, kindly invited to take your places. We'll start the last session of the summit.